Hello, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the specific hormones that are involved in hair growth. So starting with androgens. So here we primarily mean testosterone, but there are a few different compounds that are also androgens. So you'll see those over in the picture on the side. So androgens, there's a sort of paradox here, especially with testosterone. Normally, testosterone and androgens cause hair growth. It causes vellus hairs, so like thin little peach fuzz kind of hairs, to transform into terminal follicles. So hair that is thick and more pigmented and more dense and coarse, like the hair on your head or your eyebrows, eyelashes, body hair, that sort of thing. So in general, androgens cause vellus hair follicles to transform into terminal hair follicles so that it causes more dense hair growth. But there's a sort of paradox there because sometimes it can have the opposite effect and transform terminal follicles into vellus hair follicles. It can cause terminal hairs to fall out and to be replaced with little peach fuzz kind of hairs. Um, so, what effect it has depends on the genetics of the individual person and the site of the follicles. So, androgens can stimulate growth of hair, interfere with growth of hair, or have no effect, depending on the person and where in the body we're talking about. So, for example, androgens tend to stimulate growth in the beard. In certain people, depending on genetics, it might interfere with growth on the scalp, which would be where we have alopecia, or we have hair loss. And then in some places, androgens have no effect, like in your eyelashes. You don't grow more or less eyelashes depending on your level of testosterone. So androgen-dependent hair growth is very highly genetic. Then other sex hormones, estrogen has kind of a similar effect as testosterone. It usually promotes hair growth, but in some cases, depending on the person and the location, it can cause hair loss, just like with androgens. Progesterone also can promote hair growth, but in very high quantities, it can have the opposite effect and can cause hair loss. Prolactin also promotes hair growth. And pregnancy usually causes very lush hair growth throughout pregnancy, but then after the baby is born and you enter the postpartum stage, then we have a wild swing of hormones that then will cause diffuse hair loss during postpartum. All right, thyroid hormone promotes hair growth, can prolong the growth phase of the follicle. It doesn't appear to cause new hair growth, so it doesn't appear to cause new hairs to grow where there weren't hairs before, but it does make the currently growing follicles grow longer. It stimulates the hair matrix and keratinocyte proliferation and pigmentation. So you grow more hairs with more pigment for longer. It also stimulates mitochondria to provide more energy to the hair follicle. So, of course, cells that are receiving more energy are going to have a greater ability to divide and proliferate to create more hair. Okay, melatonin. This one may come as a surprise, but melatonin acts directly on hair follicles. And hair follicles even have the ability to secrete their own melatonin, and that's triggered by norepinephrine. And at the end of this presentation, I'll talk more about seasonal hair growth, and melatonin plays a very significant role in that. So, melatonin stimulates the hair follicle to prolong the growth phase. It also blocks DHT receptors. DHT is another androgen. And so, in people where androgens cause hair loss on the scalp, blocking those receptors can actually improve hair growth for those people. So, somebody who has hair loss on the scalp due to androgens, they might benefit from increased melatonin because it will help block those receptors and encourage more health growth, or not health growth, hair growth. So it's sort of like the melatonin works opposite the androgens. So melatonin is also involved in hair pigmentation because it increases the number of melanocytes, and melatonin also plays a role in modulating prolactin, which, as I mentioned, also stimulates hair growth. Okay, a few other hormones that also have an effect on hair growth. Corticotropin-releasing hormone inhibits hair shaft production and can cause the growth phase to end early. So, corticotropin-releasing hormone works against your hair growth. It also reduces the number of keratinocytes in the hair matrix, and those, of course, are the cells that are dividing to form the hair shaft. So, if we're reducing the number of cells, then we're going to have less hair growth. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. The effect is not clear in humans. Human trials have been kind of fuzzy there, but animal studies show that it does induce the growth phase by influencing steroid metabolism in the skin. Cortisol works against your hair growth. So high cortisol interferes with follicle function, and low cortisol has positive effects on hair growth. So someone who has a lot of chronic stress and they have chronically high cortisol, that is going to interfere with hair growth. Thyrotropin-releasing hormone also prolongs the hair growth phase and promotes hair growth. All right, so finally, I just want to talk a little bit about seasonal hair growth. So your hair grows in seasonal cycles. That is modulated by several different hormones. Melatonin is really important in that process because it is based on day length and temperature, essentially. So your body is in touch with what season it is based on how the length of the day is changing and what the temperature is like. So, of course, somebody who spends most of their time indoors and under artificial light is going to be a little less in touch with that cycle. So, they might be a little less affected by it in terms of seasonal hair growth. But those of us who are outside more and in touch with the weather and the day and night cycle and all of that, you will see fluctuations in hair growth. So it's essentially to cause fuller, thicker hair in the winter and thinner hair in the summer. We see that throughout the animal kingdom because in some animals it's necessary to keep alive. You know, you need a thicker, fuller coat to stay alive when it's cold out, and thinner hair to stay cool in the summer. In humans, the effect is more apparent in men than women, but there is a statistically significant effect in women also. And you also see more of an effect in men in a beard compared to the scalp hair. All right, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.